Antichrist, the Dajjal. Right? The trials of the religion, and then the trials of wealth. And so where do we learn, how do we learn how to control, and what are the lessons about that? In the story of Ashab, the person who has the two gardens. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we'll try to go through. What time again is 9:50? Okay, we'll try to go through. There's so much more, but we'll try to go through some of this quickly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ. Mention to them the parable. This is a story of two people. رَجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا. One of the two has two gardens. Okay? جَنَّتَيْنِ. He has two gardens. And these two gardens, جَنَّتَيْنِ مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ. Not only, what kind is this? This is a garden or an orchard that has grapes. Do you know in Arabia, this was like, very expensive. If you have a garden of grapes, that was not the regular garden. That was like the top stuff, the best, the extra things. Grapes were always associated with luxury, right? And so he has grapevines and so forth all over the place. And his وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ. And around it, surrounding it, he has date trees, all the surrounding it. And then وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا. And he also has zar'a. What does that mean? This is a staple food. It's growing something that people use as a staple food. So not only does he have the luxury item that he has, he's selling luxury items also, but he has also the staple food. And then for his income, for money and things like that, and extra also. And so what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking about here? Allah is mentioning in this story the Arabian dream. You have the American dream, right? The Canadian dream. This is the Arabian dream. This is the Arabian dream. To have this. كِلْتَا الْجَنَّتَيْنِ آتَتْ أُكُلَهَا وَلَمْ تَظْلِمْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. Both of these two gardens brought forth their produce and harvest, and it never failed. وَفَجَّرْنَا خِلَالَهُمَا نَهَرًا. And in between these two gardens is a river. Subhanallah. It's beautiful. And what else? This is like the Arabian dream. Why? You have a river running between these two gardens. How hard is it going to be to water it? This is the best location you can have it. This is a guy that's overlooking, he's living in Uplands. The mansion, looking at the ocean, right? He's in Uplands, he's looking at the mansion, the ocean. He's living the Canadian dream. Right? This guy's living the Arabian dream. And also, look, وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ. Around and surrounding it are tall trees. Why? So you can stay under the shade and look at your garden and look at the water. Sipping lemonade. This, as I mentioned, this is the Arabian dream. This is a person of the dunya. Allah has given him everything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ فَقَالَ لِصَاحِبِهِ. And he also had thamar. Thamar here, some of the scholars means wealth. It's another way to say wealth. And he has other wealth also. There's other things also. Thamar means fruits, but fruits also can mean wealth. So he has other wealth. Not only that, he has other wealth. وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ فَقَالَ لِصَاحِبِهِ وَهُوَ يُحَاوِرُهُ. But the thing that this person does not have, he has everything. But the thing that this person does not have is wealth, is iman, is Islam.
But he has a friend who is a Muslim. He has a friend who is a Muslim. And he's speaking to his friend. وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ فَقَالَ لِصَاحِبِهِ وَهُوَ يُحَاوِرُ. And he's like, talking to him, to his friend, who's a Muslim. أَنَا أَكْثَرُ مِنْكَ مَالًا وَعَ. So he says, أَنَا أَكْثَرُ مِنْكَ مَالًا وَأَعَزُّ نَفَرًا. I have more wealth than you. I'm richer than you. وَأَعَزُّ نَفَرًا. And he also has, even his, in terms of stronger in numbers and entourage also. In other words, this guy is not just a normal guy. He's very rich. He has people serving him, working for him. He has everything. He has his house. But this guy would have a maid, everything. He doesn't have to clean his house or anything like that. The trees and gardens all taken care of for him. He's got everything. He's living the life. But he doesn't have Iman. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَدَخَلَ جَنَّتَهُ وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. And he enters his garden. And وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. And he's oppressive to himself. He's wronging himself. But this is, but he's a kafir, which means he's a non-Muslim. Al-dhulm here, some of the scholars mention kufr, but he's not a Muslim. قَالَ مَا أَظُنُّ أَن تَبِيدَ هَذِهِ أَبَدًا. He said, you know what? I don't think that this will ever end. This is my life, and this is how it's going to be. Right? وَمَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمَةً وَلَئِن رُدِدتُّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي لَأَجِدَنَّ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا مُنْقَلَبًا. And if I were to reward, and I don't believe that the day of judgment will ever happen, but if I were to return to my Lord, if there was a day of judgment anyways, if there was, these people are just living and all they have is hopes. And this is what they have no surety or certainty about anything. They're just thinking that, this might happen. No, maybe there is a hereafter. Maybe there isn't. But if there was a hereafter, if I were to return to my Lord, لَأَجِدَنَّ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا مُنْقَلَبًا. I would find even better than this. You wish. But this is what he wants. This is what he wishes. What's his proof? If you have a good now, you can have a good later. What's your proof? He has no proof. These are all hopes. Hopes that they have without any certainty, without any faith. Just hopes. Just hoping. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قال له صاحبه وهو يحاوره أكفرت بالذي خلقك. His Muslim friend, he says to him, while he's talking to him and conversing with him, أكفرت بالذي خلقك. Said, are you denying the one who created you? خلقك من تراب. He created you from dirt. ثم من نطفة ثم سواك رجلا. Then he created you from a sperm. And he fashioned you as a man so perfectly. So he's trying to tell him, he said, look at yourself. How can you disbelieve in Allah? Forget about everything else, but look at yourself. Where did you come from? Look how sophisticated you are. If I were to just, Allah gave me, let's say for example, 200 billion years to live. And I just sat here. What would be the chances of having something like this come out of nowhere? Like just be something like this or something similar like this. Just all of a sudden there's a bottle that came out of, storms hitting this, trees blowing this way, that way. What are the chances of me finding something like this
just by chance? You would probably say, no way. Somebody has to have made this one. You might say, no, I found this. I know this is the result of evolution. See this here? It came like this. It probably hit some branches, like straight, perfectly. Like maybe some storm came, and maybe 300 years later it hit this side. And 400 years later it came this side. And then some leaves were like flying, and all of a sudden it became this, and it had just this ink is just as a result of this liquid and so forth coming from this tree and that tree, and then this is a result of evolution. Just this thing, right? What are the chances of this just happening just like that? How simple is this? Super simple. If someone were like 200 years from now, somebody digs up the ground, and plastic lived a long time, right? Somebody digs it up, right, and he finds this. An archaeologist, 200 years in the future, looks at it. Wow, look at that. These people were sophisticated indeed. Right? Right? If you tell Mr. Archaeologist, man, this is the result of evolution, what's he going to say? He said, no, somebody made it. Has to be. You fool to say this came from nowhere. It came from nothing. Right? You can't even accept the fact that this came from nothing, and you yourself are so much more sophisticated than this, and you're saying you popped out of nowhere 3 billion years of evolution. Not possible. Look how perfect we are. Look how perfect we are. And so he's telling him, he's mentioning to him, Allah created, fashioned you this way. And you're thinking, you came out of nowhere, nothing? No, there is a God. And everything around us shows that there is a God. Every strand of grass is telling you there is a God. Every strand of grass, every tree and every seed that comes from every tree that comes from a seed is telling you that there is Allah. That's your proof all around you that there is Allah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, at the end of this, of course, what is the point here? The point here is that the lesson in this is that deficiency in wealth, in poverty and so forth, it's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is lack of faith and iman. You don't have Islam. I mean, it's not a being poor is not something you should be. In other words, just not being rich is not something to be ashamed of. The real thing that you should worry about is not having deen, not having iman. And so that's why in times of the Dajjal, those who follow him, the Antichrist, those who follow him, he'll give them everything, the dunya. And then those who don't have, the ones who don't have, those are the people who have faith. And so you have to understand that faith, your iman, your Islam, is the most important thing. And it's not something that, if they make fun of you, because look at you guys are poor because of this and this, and we shouldn't. As Muslims, actually, we should be the best at everything. We should be the best at everything. But if you have wealth and no faith, then you're a poor person. Any soul that doesn't have a poor soul is one who does not have faith in that iman, even if he has an abundance of wealth. And so the true wealth is the wealth of faith, of iman. And that's what will help you, and that's what will save you in the hereafter, because that's eternal. And so anything here that you see, it does not necessarily mean Allah loves that person when He gives him a lot of wealth. But the sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a person when He makes him a strong Muslim. When He gives him the deen, He makes him understand His religion. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen us to give us the best of this world and the hereafter. And also we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that teaches us that which benefits us, and benefits from that which is to us.